You get paid, and for about 48 hours, everything feels fine. The account looks healthy. There is a brief, quiet sense of possibility, and then, without any single dramatic decision, it begins to disappear. By the second week, the balance has already dropped by half. By the third week, you are starting to slow down on spending without consciously deciding to. And by the time the next paycheck arrives, the account is sitting at a number that makes you wonder where it all went. You did not buy anything outrageous. You did not make any decisions that felt wrong in the moment. But the money is gone anyway. This is not a discipline problem. This is a systems problem. And the difference between those two diagnoses changes everything about how you fix it. Let's talk about what is actually happening. When a paycheck arrives, it enters a financial environment that has been specifically designed to absorb it as quickly and as completely as possible. Your rent or mortgage is waiting. Your subscriptions renew automatically. Your phone bill, your insurance, your streaming services, these are not decisions you make actively each month. They are commitments you made once that now execute themselves automatically, pulling resources from your account before you have had a chance to think about them. After the fixed expenses, the discretionary spending begins. And this is where the psychology becomes important. Because after paying all of your obligations, the remaining balance feels like free money. It feels earned and available. And the brain, which has been operating under the low-level stress of financial responsibility, now sees an opportunity to relax. This is the moment when most of the damage is done. Not through large purchases. Through the accumulation of small ones that each feel like reasonable rewards for having managed your money responsibly enough to have anything left over. Coffee, takeout because cooking feels like too much after a long day. A small purchase that appeared on your screen at exactly the right moment. A convenience that saves time and only costs a little. A social expense that would feel awkward to decline. None of these decisions feel significant. None of them would show up in a list of financial mistakes if someone reviewed your spending. But together, repeated over 30 days, they consume whatever margin existed between your income and an improving financial situation. And then the paycheck arrives again, and the cycle repeats. Here is the part that most financial advice gets wrong. It tells you to spend less, cut the coffee, skip the takeout, exercise more discipline. And while none of that advice is factually incorrect, it misunderstands the mechanism. The problem is not individual spending decisions. The problem is the architecture of the system. The system, as it currently exists for most people, processes money in this order. Income arrives. Fixed expenses are paid. Remaining balance enters the discretionary pool. Spending continues until the balance reaches a level that feels uncomfortably low. Whatever survives that process becomes savings, if anything does. The system that the 5% use processes money in a completely different order. Income arrives. A fixed savings amount is removed first, before anything else happens. Fixed expenses are paid from what remains. Discretionary spending is whatever survives after that. The sequence looks similar, but the outcome is radically different. Because in the first system, savings are what is left after life happens. In the second system, savings happen before life gets a chance to absorb them. This is the entire fix, not a new app, not a complicated budget with 47 categories, not a subscription service that analyzes your spending patterns and sends you notifications you will ignore. Just a change in the sequence of what happens the moment money arrives. But to implement it correctly, you need to understand the 3 accounts that every paycheck should touch, in a specific order, before discretionary spending begins. The first account is your emergency buffer. This is not an investment. It is not earning impressive returns. Its only job is to exist, to sit between you and the financial system's pressure to go into debt every time something unexpected happens. The target is 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. Until you reach that target, a fixed amount from every paycheck goes here first. Once you reach it, this account stops receiving contributions and simply sits. The second account is your growing balance. This is where accumulation actually happens. This account is separate from your everyday banking, ideally at a different institution, ideally requiring slightly more friction to access. The psychological distance matters. Money that is slightly harder to reach stays longer. The contribution here is automatic, fixed, and happens on the same day as every paycheck. It does not wait to see what is left over because nothing will be left over. The third account is your operating account. This is the only account you spend from. Everything that hits this account, after the first two have received their contributions, is available for your life. Rent, groceries, transportation, discretionary spending. All of it comes from this pool. When this pool is empty, the spending period is over until the next paycheck. There is no borrowing from the other accounts. The boundary is the system. This three-account architecture does something that willpower cannot. It removes the decision. Every month, you do not decide whether to save. The saving has already happened, automatically, before the spending environment had a chance to absorb the surplus. You are not resisting temptation. You have simply restructured which money temptation has access to. Now, the amounts matter less than you might think. Starting with 5% of each paycheck, not 10, not 25, is enough to begin building the architecture. The percentage can increase later. The habit is what needs to be established first, because the habit is what makes the increase sustainable over time. There is one more thing that most people do not know about this system, and it is the part that makes it permanently self-reinforcing rather than something you have to maintain through effort. After 3 to 4 months of consistent execution, the operating account begins to feel like your actual income. Your brain recalibrates its sense of what is available. The money in the other accounts stops feeling like money you have access to, because it has been systematically excluded from the spending environment long enough to feel like it belongs somewhere else. This recalibration is not a trick you play on yourself. It is a genuine perceptual shift that happens when behavior becomes consistent enough to establish a new normal. This is why people who start this system and maintain it for 6 months almost never abandon it. Not because they have developed extraordinary discipline, but because the new architecture has become their baseline. Returning to the old system would now feel like a step backward, and the brain resists steps backward even more strongly than it resists starting something new. Your paycheck is not disappearing because you are doing something wrong. It is disappearing because it is moving through a system that was never designed to accumulate wealth. It was designed to convert income into lifestyle, efficiently and completely, every single month. Change the system. The paycheck will stop disappearing.